Listen, I am just a regular mom in her 40s, but I'm not new here. I have a husband and 3 teenage children, and I've been doing this homemaker thing for about 20 years. And for about 7.5 of those years, I've been here on YouTube sharing a lot of it with you. And I know it's 2026, and you've probably watched a gajillion videos about how to save money on groceries and cook on a budget, but I'm telling you, there are some hard truths no one likes to talk about when it comes to frugal food habits, including shopping, cooking, and eating. So if you have been struggling or you're just looking for ways that you can do better, it might not be a specific strategy that you need. It might be a mindset shift. Variety is a luxury. Eating on a budget is boring sometimes. Let's renormalize eating the same inexpensive homemade foods most of the time and stop expecting every meal to be new and exciting. It's only been, a fairly recent development in human history that we have so much to choose from when it comes to grocery shopping and cooking. I myself am overwhelmed sometimes when I'm scrolling through Pinterest or Instagram looking for recipe inspiration. There's so much out there. I'm actually going back to cookbooks more and more because there are a finite number of recipes to consider, not an endless barrage of choices that run together in the bottomless pit that is the internet. It's okay and can actually be a frugal habit to eat the same things from month to month, week to week, or even day to day. When it comes to ordinary weeknight cooking, my grandmother really only had about a dozen or so meals she made on the regular. This made it possible to buy in bulk and keep common ingredients stocked, so it was easy to answer the what's for dinner question when it was time. Plus, fewer choices means less decision fatigue and analysis paralysis, which saves time and energy as well as money. I know it can feel like a drag to eat the same lunch you prepped 5 days in a row, but sometimes the truth is fed is best for your body and often your budget. I tell my kids all the time, not every meal is the amazingest, and sometimes I have to say it to myself too. And honestly, settling for just having what we need some of the time can make getting what we want occasionally even better. Put a pin in that because I'm going to come back to it later. I think I've been making my oatmeal the same way for probably over 10 years. Just oats, peanut butter, a little pinch of salt, some banana. I cannot even venture a guess the number of times this has been my breakfast. I mean, if I am making breakfast at home, probably more than half the time it's this. And if I am taking breakfast on the go, usually it's the same thing, but minus the oatmeal and add a piece of toast or like a frozen waffle. So like peanut butter and banana on a piece of toast that I can carry out the door with me. I just change out the starch. Suck it up and learn to cook, but don't overthink it. If you've never done much in the kitchen, maybe you rely mostly on heat and eat options or takeout. It can feel like learning to cook means something akin to what you see on those cooking shows with the professional chefs.
Welcome. I am Julia Child.
But it's not that deep. My grandmother used to say, if you can read, you can cook. It's not rocket science, and while you may arrive at a place where you enjoy attempting more complicated recipes, it doesn't have to be complicated, especially in the beginning. You don't have to start with something as fickle as yeast bread or as temperamental as creme brulee. Start with the oatmeal I showed you in the beginning of the video. Learn how to make spaghetti, how to scramble eggs and toss them in a tortilla with a little salsa. Start small and don't bite off more than you can chew. Just because you're learning to make breakfast burritos yourself at home instead of going through the drive-thru doesn't mean you have to dive headlong into the homesteading trend and raise your own chickens and grow your own vegetables and mill your own wheat berries. If you want to do that, more power to you. But you'll find me over here still just getting my eggs and carrots and flour at the grocery store because that kind of homemaking simply isn't in the cards for me, and honestly, not feasible and probably overwhelming for most folks, especially just starting out. Upside is sponsoring today's video, and actually it won't cost you a dime to download their free app where you can earn cash back on purchases you make at certain gas stations, grocery stores, and restaurants. There are over 100,000 participating locations. You can actually transfer it to your bank account or trade it in for gift cards when you're ready. When I'm ready to use the Upside app, it's super easy. I just open up the app and I look at the offers in my area. I select one. I go there and make a purchase and then just follow the directions for getting my cash back. Sometimes that's it because I have a card that's linked to the account, so I don't even have to submit any receipts.
That's good.
One less thing.
Earlier this week, I earned $2.94 cash back when I filled up the old mom van. And we have been trying to limit our grocery store runs in the month of January as we eat up some of the food we already have. But I did stop by the grocery store for a few items yesterday and noticed that my local grocery store is one of the locations that I can use with my Upside app, and I earned $15 cash back. So I made $17.94 cash back using my Upside app just this week. Upside has given back $1 billion to its users. To find out how much you could earn, download the free Upside app and use my code Mindy to get an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first tank of gas. That's an extra 25 cents back per gallon on your first tank of gas when you use my code Mindy. You can follow the link in the description box below, or you can scan the QR code right here. And thank you again to Upside for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to it. We have more convenience in the food space than ever before. From veggies already cut up, to chickens already cooked, to dressings that are already mixed, to cookie dough you just have to drop on a baking sheet and pop in the oven. Some of my occasional convenience buys include salad kits, canned soup, cake mixes, and yes, our favorite freezer section shortcut, Uncrustables. And the freezer section is more than just ice cream these days. It is loaded with pizzas, casseroles, waffles, and so much more that you can just pop into the microwave or the oven or the air fryer. And while I'm a fan of frozen veggies and chicken tenders, and I'll even toss a few frozen pizzas into the freezer for a sick day, I'm starting to shy away from relying too much on shortcuts. First of all, they rarely satisfy. Homemade almost always tastes better, but also the price markup for the convenience can be insane and really bust a person's budget over time. You can't afford convenience all the time. Take the long way. Frugal eaters are cooking more from scratch and purchasing simple ingredients. But this doesn't mean they're spending hours in the kitchen every day, because time is money too. Satisfying meals can be simple with a limited number of ingredients and very little time required. Just look at the popularity of dump and go or throw and go crock pot meals. In fact, when I'm thinking about scratch cooking, I'm often choosing the long way with things that really don't take that much hands-on time, but yield great results. It takes a little foresight and planning, but not much actual work at all to cook dry beans or bone broth in the crock pot. And honestly, I can say the same thing about bread. Not trendy sourdough, I could not make that work, but just plain old commercial yeast bread. I'm making more bread products from scratch, sandwich bread, rolls, tortillas, because I've noticed a big markup in even the cheap store brand loaves, let alone the higher quality name brand ones. Stop going to the grocery store. You have food at home. Okay, so I know we all have to grocery shop eventually, but if you've watched my channel much at all for the last 5 years, you hear me harp on the idea of delaying your grocery trip. This forces us to use up food we already have in the house and food we've already paid for, focusing on perishable items in the fridge and open packages in the pantry. Ha! I knew I still had one left. Yay! While food insecurity remains an issue, which is why my family is passionate about donating to local pantries, that's not who I'm addressing with this point. I'm talking about the standard family household like mine, where saying there's nothing to eat is really just hyperbole. What I really mean when I say that is there's nothing here I want to eat that perfectly satisfies whatever craving I'm currently having. I really want pancakes, but what we actually have is oatmeal. The oatmeal will still feed me, maybe even in a better way than pancakes. I'm just being spoiled if I refuse to eat it because I'm waiting on pancakes to re-enter the household. It's a similar concept to accepting variety as a luxury. Sometimes fed is best. Not every meal is the amazingest. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you'll find you get what you need. Sage advice from a bunch of rock and rollers of all people. Pick and choose your splurges. Not everything needs to be special all the time. Frugal doesn't mean cheap. In fact, frugal people often curate quality items over time, sturdy furniture for their homes, classic pieces for their wardrobes, memorable luxury vacation experiences. They're just very intentional about these things. Frugal people identify what they want to splurge on and where they're content to save or even do without. My husband read something profound recently that he shared with me. We don't know how to feast because we don't know how to fast. And I think this author was referring to the standard current cultural expectation to have all our appetites satisfied pretty much immediately whenever we crave anything, whether it's attention, entertainment, validation, money, and yes, even food. and how it actually numbs us to truly special experiences to constantly have our cravings indulged immediately. We can't appreciate the special treats on Christmas Day because we've already been gorging ourselves throughout the month of December. And we don't always appreciate seeing a movie in the movie theater anymore because we are inundated with entertainment all the time. In our homes, in our cars, and even in the palm of our hand. Delayed gratification is a bit of a lost art this day and age, and something we have to retrain our dopamine overloaded brains to handle. Going without, or even just making do with what we already have, even if just for a little while, feels more like a chore than ever. And don't get me wrong, it's okay to splurge. But when a splurge becomes the rule and not the exception, it's no longer special, and it could be hindering us in more ways than one. Frugal people often identify the conveniences and luxuries they're willing to splurge on, but they either limit how often they indulge or they limit other areas in their life to make room, and often both. I love to get an every plate box when I need a break from meal planning, but it's not a thing I do every week. And I'll splurge on some good quality coffee beans from a small roaster who deserves my business, but I'm sipping it alongside my budget bowl of oatmeal. I keep bringing it back to the oatmeal. I should have titled this video, Frugal Lessons from My Bowl of Oatmeal. All I'm saying is we have to try to identify the handful of luxuries or conveniences we want to prioritize, and then consider how we can keep those things special by establishing some moderation, limiting their frequency, and being content with everything else in between, which in turn does save us money in the long run. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Upside for sponsoring today's video. You can check them out in the description box below, and thank you for your patience while I took a little break from YouTube. I am back and have lots of plans for videos, so make sure that you are subscribed so you don't miss one, and check out one of these next.